You may have heard of birth doulas and death doulas, but have you ever heard of a trauma doula? That's me. My name's Toni, and I'm the trauma doula, and this is your place to heal trauma, body, and soul. Hi, everyone. Just a simple reminder that if you are liking and enjoying the podcast or any of the other things that I'm putting out on YouTube, definitely give me a. And if you are listening to the podcast through Spotify or Apple, definitely give the podcast a review and let people know what you're liking about it. And as always, if there's anything that you would like to hear, any questions you have, always feel free to email me or even reach out, leave a comment, anything, and I will try to make an episode about any type of questions or curiosities you all have. Now let's jump straight into the episode. Today we're talking about the Ajna or third eye chakra. The Ajna, third eye chakra, is all about intuition. And when we talk about trauma in the third eye chakra, first things first, it's located right in your forehead, right in the middle. And you will hear and see a lot of people talk about opening their third eye, trying to force it open, especially when people talk about spiritual awakenings and things like that. They get really obsessed with the third eye chakra. And as far as that is concerned, I don't think it's a great place to start when we're talking about healing trauma. But if you have been really rooted and grounded and you've gone through all the other chakras as far as like healing goes and really integrating and supporting yourself in all the ways, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, then it can be a great place to begin to learn to trust yourself, okay? Because that third eye, Ajna chakra, is all about intuition. And if you're a cycle breaker, if you're a trauma survivor, you would know that a lot of times people have told you not to trust your intuition, whether overtly or covertly. People have always been sending you this message that your intuition isn't to be trusted and that they know better. It's very interesting, I think, that this chakra is the place that if we start from the ground, if we start from our roots and go all the way up, it's the one that's our head. And that can get really confusing because a lot of times we think that thinking our way through things is the way through things. And most of us are deeply disconnected from what the third eye chakra has to give to us. So before I skip over anything else, because the third eye definitely has a lot to say today, the third eye chakra is indigo. Okay, that's like a purpley blue color. And if you're interested in crystals and things like that, amethyst, lapis lazuli, and azurite are great Ajna chakra crystals. Now, one thing about the Ajna chakra is that its wisdom, its energy comes from beyond. It's not something that we can learn specifically. The Ajna third eye chakra is about what we know, what we're receiving and knowing within ourselves that is maybe bubbling up from within. So when your heart chakra and throat chakra are clear, your heart, which is your innermost truth and innermost feelings, and your throat, again, which is being able to express and open about the truth. When those two chakras combine and open, your third eye chakra can really support you in understanding your own inner wisdom. It's about your wisdom. And that may be something that's a little bit difficult to understand because knowledge and wisdom are not the same thing. Through the third eye chakra, we can receive these intuitive hits, these intuitive guidances. And it's your job to discern the messages and information that you're getting from the outside. The third eye is not only taking in all this information, it's figuring out what to do with it through the other chakras. So it's okay, I took in this intuitive thing. What does my heart say about it? What does my heart chakra say about it? Okay, and sometimes there are wisdoms that we see with our third eye that we bring in through our heart that we make judgments about. But judgment and discernment is not the same thing. The third eye's true beauty is in understanding discernment. The mind judges. It judges whether it thinks something is good or bad, whether it believes in evil. The mind chooses when it feels like someone is just annoying, which is a judgment. The mind does so many gymnastics to make judgments that make you comfortable. But your third eye will take in things and know the truth of something. And sometimes that truth is going to make you uncomfortable. Sometimes you're not going to want to trust or walk out in faith or take action on that intuition because you don't like it. Not liking it, that's a judgment. Discerning that is their direction for you, that is third eye intuition. Okay, so I can choose tomorrow that I want to be a goth girl. And tomorrow comes and I'm a goth girl and I discern that that is not the path for me. That is not who I am. I can choose tomorrow to say, I'm going to give up this podcast and go into corporate and forget all this stuff. But my discernment, my intuition will always tell me that this is the way for me. And you too can have that compass if you learn to trust your intuition. See, a lot of the reason that when people open their third eye, a couple of things happen, especially when they haven't dealt with their trauma. They try to open their third eye and then they're getting in all this wisdom and they don't know how to discern what they should even do with the wisdom that they're taking in. And their confidence, their solar plexus, is so wounded. Remember, your solar plexus, that's the yellow chakra in your belly. That area is so wounded that you don't even have the confidence to step in faith with your intuition and where it's trying to take you. Can you hear me on this? Can you hear the ways in which every other chakra that's come before builds on every single chakra that comes after? There's a little bit of each chakra onking up and interweaving with each chakra that comes after it. So in the other misnomer and thing that I push back against is this idea of even opening your chakras, right? Because if it was supposed to be in a particular way, it would already be there. We don't open our chakras. Are a guide, a placeholder for what is in our energetic imprint. They show us, they're a map, they're a constellation of what's happening within us. And as we begin to shift and change and grow, the chakras, they balance themselves out. They shift in themselves because you're doing the work. But if you're to try to force open your third eye, you're taking in all this wisdom, you're taking in all this energy, and the world is open, that tends to be why you get people who are head in the clouds, but it's not connected to the earth. It's not connected to how they live their lives. So they have lots of lofty ideals about how things are and the truth of things, but you look around and they're not living that. That's not who they are. They're just talking about it. They're just thinking about it. They're just imagining about it, but they're not living it. They're not taking action on it. They're not bringing it down to the roots so that they can embody it. They're not creating a sense of community and pleasure and grace and fun and excitement and confidence and heart about a thing. And so in essence, our third eye chakra is really about existing in the world, but not being of the world. You know, you've heard that saying, I exist in the world, but I am not of this world. That is the third eye chakra. And when that space begins to evolve, when you begin to become into the energy of your third eye, you begin to open and see the world beyond what we are in these flesh bodies. We begin to see the world as recognizing that we are more than our bodies. We're more than the material. And also, what we get to see allows us to experience our bodies and the material and the world around us in a more beautiful and profound way, because we are existing in it. And we get to bring those truths, those universal truths, down into the world with us. We are not separate from anything. We are together. And a lot of times, if people have tried to open their third eye, they really devolve into this ideology of separate. The separateness. That's the thing about being so heady, is that you can start to believe that you're separate, and you can start to believe that you're special. And this isn't to say you aren't unique and talented and wonderful and special. This is to say, and so is the person sitting next to you. You just don't know how yet. Let the people around you show you their own wisdom, because we learn from each other. A true third eye awakening that is grounded with earth and reality and the rest of the people around us is always open to the fact that the beggar on the street can tell you truth and wisdom, just like a corporate lawyer, just like a yogini in the mountains meditating. All those people hold wisdom. That is the truth of the third eye chakra. And that is why the trauma in the third eye that is held there is specifically held there to keep us separate, to keep us thinking, okay, if I just open my third eye, I don't have to worry about the fact that I have all this mother trauma and this mother wound that is sitting in my root chakra holding me down. No, I'm going to go straight to my third eye and try to open it. And no wonder we think we're special. I got up here and I got to experience all these wisdoms and these truths. And it feels good to have these spiritual experiences. But without roots, it can't grow. It can only ever be in the clouds. And yet, trusting your own intuition and trusting your own wisdom is a part of understanding and healing the trauma in the third eye chakra. And this is especially important for my cycle breakers, because oftentimes we want to experience something good so bad. We want to experience feeling like we're important and that our emotions and our feelings actually matter. And when we have these spiritual experiences through third eye awakenings, we can say, oh, this is different. This is different than where I came from. People where I came from don't experience this. But then it starts to make you separate. And anytime you feel you are separate from anyone else, anytime you feel like you are above anyone else, that is a trauma more damaging than anything. Aloneness and our desire to feel like we're better than others is rooted in that egocentric space that the third eye can bring when it's not grounded. And so how can you root and rise? You root to rise. The deeper the roots, learning to trust your intuition on this journey is a difficult one. Recognizing that you have an intuition and an internal compass, something that is guiding you and pulling you forward. And that thing is usually more right than wrong. And that maybe you aren't as separate as you think you are. Where can you pause for the wisdom of those around you? And how can you recognize the wisdom within the beggar? Because the beggar has a third eye too. Okay? That's something we have to really understand here when it comes to this, because you start talking about their third eye and everyone wants to go off into space. Everyone wants to revel in spiritual experiences without recognizing that other people have them too. We're all in this together, okay? Like high school reunion or high school musical, okay? We're all in this together. Something that I often think about when I say even the beggar has a third eye and an intuition and wisdom that guides them. There was this one time when I lived all the way on the other side of the country in Pittsburgh, and I was walking around downtown. And if you know anything about Pittsburgh, they have bridges on bridges, and a lot of the bridges are yellow for the Steelers, if you know anything about the Steelers. And I was walking across one of the bridges into downtown. I had just gotten off the bus, and I saw someone on the bridge, on the side of the bridge. And, you know, they had their little hat out or whatever. And I put some money in the hat and I just kept walking, you know, and I'm almost to the other side of the bridge. And I see the guy I just gave money to running down the bridge, waving me down, yelling, "Hey!" And I was just like, okay, what did I do? Did I do something? What's going on? And there was a man in front of me. And I was like, is he talking to you? And he looks back at me and goes, he's not talking to me, and keeps walking. So this guy is just like, okay, I don't really care. That's not my problem. And I'm like, okay, all right. So either I stop, I'm just going to stop. I had the feeling, right? I heard my intuition. It was like, just stop. And I just stopped in the middle of the bridge as the homeless man is running down the street, screaming, "Hey," at me, waving his hand. And I was like, okay, I don't know. Whatever happens, it's gonna happen. And he gets up to me and he goes, "Your bus pass was wrapped in the money. Don't you need this to get on the bus?" And he hands me my bus pass, which was wrapped in the cash that I had given him. And I just thought, this man has nothing. He is on the side of the bridge collecting money from people who walk by. And he ran down the street to give me a bus pass back. Every single person has wisdom. Every single person has intuition. And in that moment, I recognized that there was a sense of shared humility and humanity going on, because we were at different points. I was at a point in my life where I was working, I had cash to give, and I would just give it. If I had it, I would give it. I still do that. If I have cash in my pocket and I see someone who is asking for money, I give it because I have it. I use that as my intuition guiding me and saying, hey, if you have cash and you see someone, that's for them. That's theirs. Because what do I look like going and giving the Red Cross money when they sell our blood? I'd rather give it to the woman on the side of the road who it would go straight to her. It's not going through a place that is selling our donations, literally. Your third eye is a place for you to connect with all of humanity, for all people. It's so much deeper than what we think of as spiritual experience. Because if my third eye hadn't developed along with all my other chakras, I might not have been confident enough, solar plexus, in my heart chakra, in the feeling of the intuitive hit, third eye, that I got to just stop, because I knew that person wasn't going to hurt me. I didn't really, when you're in the moment, you don't technically know. But when you're in the moment and you are fully present and fully embodied and you listen to yourself, you do know. You know that you know something. And in that moment, maybe it's, I know that I'm going to be safe. And maybe that's all you have to know to have a beautiful moment, because I find that was a beautiful moment that I got to have because I trusted myself. And trauma strips so many beautiful moments from us because we believe that somehow what happened to us says something about our choices, our decisions, when really it says a lot about the choices and decisions of other people who had power over us. It doesn't say anything about you except that you were someone and someone saw a target. But what happened to you, that's not a reflection of who you are. And your trauma, your reactions to what other people did to you is not who you are. Most of the time, I'm going to say 99% of the time, 99% of the time, your reactions are normal, necessary, true, and honest. And so from my third eye to yours, if you liked this podcast, share it with a friend, share it on social media, and please review this podcast. Follow me on YouTube. Thanks so much. See you next time.